So the NFL owners just had a meeting in Irving, Texas, and Jimmy Haslam was asked about Kevin Stefanski and Andrew Berry, and he opened up a little bit. He didn't show his entire hand, but I want to react to what he did share with the media and the fans. The first takeaway I got from it was Jimmy Haslam is backing Kevin Stefanski and Andrew Berry. Are they ever going to come out and say something absolute? Hardly ever. But he did not really leave a whole lot of room for interpretation as to whether or not he is in support of his head coach and GM. I think what Haslam is probably looking at here when it comes to Berry and Stefanski is he has seen from these two guys that they have a proven track record of success. They've made the playoffs twice. They have done it with a different cast and crew each time. Stefanski made it with Baker Mayfield in 2020. Then he made it with 5 different quarterbacks in 2023. So I'm guessing that Jimmy Haslam is looking at Stefanski and Berry as these are two competent coach and GM that can get the job done. And ultimately, they are going to be remembered as the guys that went after Deshaun Watson. But I'm guessing he does not look at that as something that's a fireable offense, since we're not really sure as the outsiders who is 100% leading the charge on that, whether it was mostly Haslam. And if so, then Jimmy Haslam just kind of owns it himself, going, I'm not going to fire you guys for a mistake that I made, or I'm not going to fire the both of you for one mistake by Andrew Berry, when he has shown he can make a lot of really good moves. And ultimately, that was a move that a lot of teams would have done. A lot of teams were trying to do. The Browns got it done, and the Browns, unfortunately, are the losers of it all. But it's not like at the time that was perceived as a horrible deal and a horrible trade. No, there were a lot of teams trying to get Deshaun Watson. Just like when the Broncos got Russell Wilson, no one thought that was a horrible move and a horrible extension. It ended up not aging well, but at the moment, we're not all in agreement that was a good move, and same goes for Watson and the Browns. So I'm guessing that Haslam is not looking to fire either one because of one, sure, really bad year, 3-10, right? Not where they expected to be whatsoever. But he's going to look at the whole body of work and go, I got a lot of really good years with these two guys at the helm, and I've got one bad season here, and mostly because of the way Watson and the offense played to open up the season, and things could be different in the future with a different quarterback. So let's not tear it all down because of one mistake. That's probably what I think Haslam is thinking right now when it comes to his evaluation for Berry and Stefanski. Now, I had another takeaway I want to look at in just a second here, but help us continue to grow as a channel. Share our video over on Twitter. Tag me, Matthew Petey. Share it on Instagram. Tag us, Browns Report IG, and I'll give you a shout out on a future episode if you do one of these two things. So take our link, share it, tag me to get a shout out. Really appreciate those of you that help grow the channel every single day by liking, commenting, subscribing, and sharing as well. Second takeaway I got from this little owners gathering. Haslam was non-committal on Deshaun Watson and the quarterback position in general, the outlook in the future. Haslam said, quote, we need to get through the season and we will look at everything. No, that's not an absolute, but he definitely had an opportunity to say, hey, we're upset with the poor start we had to the year, and we look forward to Deshaun Watson rehabbing and taking this field back again in 2025. He didn't say that, right? He had the opportunity to kind of boost up Watson. Instead, he says, we're going to look at everything, which I think is code for we're going to change things up. And it's not just Haslam who's kind of hinted at this. Remember, go back to what Andrew Berry said in 2023 when Watson suffered a season-ending shoulder injury. He said, we feel good about Watson. We see how talented he is. We could see it since he returned to his last injury. We're excited to get him back for 2024. Look at the stark difference between what he said in 2023 and 2024 after the Achilles injury. Our focus with Deshaun, I would say, for any player with a season-ending injury and a major injury is first and foremost with the recovery and to make sure that he gets healthy from the Achilles injury. Everything else we'll deal with at a later moment, a.k.a. the Browns are going to explore quarterback options. But that's what it is, explore. They are in the exploration phase of this. They might explore and realize, well, we're not going to be in the range to land Shedeur Sanders or Cam Ward because those guys are going to go top 2, top 3, top 4. And if we're not picking there, we can't get up there because no one wants to trade back because those teams, the Giants and the Raiders, need a quarterback. And during our exploration, we realized Jalen Milroe, Drew Allar, Carson Beck, none of those are viable options by our scouts. We don't think they have starting caliber material. And so now we kind of turn to free agency a little bit, and you realize, well, there's not a whole great pool of free agent quarterbacks out there. So I've got no doubt they will explore quarterback options. Whereas last year, there wasn't much exploration going on, right? They didn't really kick the tires too much. This year, it'll be a focal point. But my suspicion is at the end of their investigation, at the end of their exploration, they're going to sail back to Berea, and they're going to realize there's no America on the other side of the Atlantic, right? There's nothing that we can really get that's reasonably priced and attainable and affordable and realistic that's going to make much of a difference other than the guys we currently have on our roster. So they might bring back Jameis Winston, which I think would be a good decision based on the way he has played, to at least bring him back and have some quarterback battle, and also, a head start because Watson's coming off an Achilles injury. He could miss some time as well. But I think the Browns are going to realize that there is just not a great quarterback draft class this year to pick from. And in free agency, it's very difficult to find starting caliber quarterbacks. Plus, when you do find them, they cost a lot of money, and the Browns just simply can't afford to add another mega monster bill to their quarterback room. So I hope the Browns do not reach on a round one quarterback just for the sake of taking a round one quarterback, right? Just so they can kind of buy themselves some time. Like, here you go, fans. Like, chew on this. We drafted Jalen Milroe in round one. Talk about that. Don't talk about Watson anymore, please. You're just going to be digging yourself a deeper hole, right? You're robbing Peter to pay Paul. You're going to find yourself in the same position in a year where you go, well, we still don't have a quarterback, and we basically haven't had a first-round draft pick for at least a meaningful one since 2018 with Denzel Ward, right? 2020, Jed Wills not going to be on the roster. 2021, Greg Newsome may not be on the roster next year. No picks in 2022, no picks in 2023. No pick in 2024. In 2025, if you take a quarterback just for the sake of taking a quarterback, well, if it doesn't work out, then he may as well not be on the roster because you don't get anything from a backup first-round pick. So now we're talking about all the way back to Denzel Ward in 2018 for meaningful starting contributions from a first-round talent player. That's a very long ways to go, and the Rams did it, but they had a ring to show for it. If you don't have a ring to show for it, it's about to get a whole lot worse before it gets better. Now, before we discuss the rest of today's episode, I do want to give a big shout out to our friends over at ZBiotics. Anyone who may not bounce back after a night of drinking as well as they used to should probably put their listening ears on. Let's face it, when going out, I have a decision to make. I can either have a great night or a great next day, but that is until I found ZBiotics Pre-Alcohol. You see, Pre-Alcohol is the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. It was invented by PhD scientists to tackle rough mornings after drinking. When you drink, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct in the gut. It's this byproduct, not dehydration, that's to blame for your rough next day. Pre-alcohol produces an enzyme to break this byproduct down. Just remember to drink the probiotic before drinking alcohol, drink responsibly, and get a good night's sleep to feel your best tomorrow. So stay in the loop and go to zbiotics.com/chatsports or scan the QR code on screen right now to get 15% off your first order when you use code CHATSPORTS at checkout. From Thanksgiving feast to New Year's Eve celebrations, this holiday season is packed with events. But don't let the festivities leave you feeling less than merry. ZBiotics Pre-Alcohol Probiotic can help you savor the night and seize the next day. Remember to head to zbiotics.com/chatsports and use the code CHATSPORTS at checkout for 15% off. Thank you, ZBiotics, for sponsoring this episode and our good times. So another piece that I want to focus on here as we talk about not reaching on a quarterback in round one is what are some actual holes that need to be filled in round one that can be filled in round one, right? Sure, the Browns want a new quarterback, but if there's not one there to take, then don't take one. But other things that need work, for one, the defense. Look at the decline for the Browns defense from last year when they ranked first in total yards to this year where they are 21st. So anyone has a good idea for a good defender, I'm all ears because the Browns could use it. Another thing that needs a lot of work, the ground game. Look at 2021 to 2022 compared to the last 2 years. You went from 4th in the NFL to 22nd. Let's prioritize fixing that in round 1 because that can be fixed in round 1 because there are players that are going to be available when the Browns are picking that can help with the defense, that can help with the run game. I don't think there's going to be a quarterback available when the Browns are picking in round 1 that can help their quarterback issues. So I would love a Will Johnson, maybe even a Mason Graham, a Calvin Banks, a Will Campbell. Let's attack those players that can also help major needs for this team outside of quarterback. But after rambling on here, let me know what you think. Should the Browns draft a quarterback in round 1? Give me a yes or give me a no in the comment section below. There's only 2 quarterbacks worthy of a first-round pick, Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders. I don't think Deion's going to let Shedeur go to Cleveland, by the way. I'll say the quiet part out loud. And I'm not completely sold on Cam Ward being a top 5 prospect. I think he's going to go top 5 because he's a quarterback and teams need a quarterback. I don't think he is ranked as one of the top 5 best players in this draft. If it were up to me, I'm not saying this should be a final submitted, but what about this? Abdul Carter, pair him with Myles Garrett, put together an incredible Dwight Freeney, Robert Mathis 1-2 duo. Round 2, you found Nick Chubb in round 2. How about Caleb Johnson out of Iowa? And then in round 3, add to your offensive line, Wyatt Millam from West Virginia can be a flexible player, versatile, use him at guard, use him at tackle. And then you've got a second, third round pick. So if you really want to, scratch that itch of needing a quarterback, I thought Drew Allar looked really good in the Big Ten championship game. So I'm okay with using a third-round flyer on him, given that you have 2. One last thing I want to talk about, and this is just to troll the Bengals. So you might have seen over the last couple of days that Tee Higgins has somewhat been in the news a little bit because of what Joe Burrow said after the loss to the Cowboys, or after the win against the Cowboys, and the future of Higgins in Cincinnati, saying, quote, I'm confident that I think we're going to do what it takes to bring T back. So a lot of Bengals fans were like, whoa, we haven't talked about this in a little while. Where did this come from? And is there a chance this could happen? Now, Higgins has played pretty well this year. He's going to be a free agent. The Bengals could franchise tag him. May not be thrilled about being franchise tagged back-to-back years. He played on it this year. We'll see how it works next year. They could tag him and trade him. My guess is if Higgins truly hit the open market and just got a fair offer, it could land him in the range of $29 million a season. Maybe 30, but I think this is a rough starting point, 28 to 31-ish million. Now, Jamar Chase also needs to be paid. Justin Jefferson got $35 million a year, and Chase is on path to be the Triple Crown winner. So my guess is he's going to use that as leverage to become the highest paid receiver in football and make $1 million more than Jefferson. Burrow already got paid. So the Bengals are going to go, sorry, Bengals fans, we can't pay all this. It's just too much. It's not possible. I want everyone to know they are lying through their teeth. The Eagles are doing it, and sure, it's not quite as much, but the salary cap goes up every single year. So from a percentage standpoint of what these salaries were when they first got paid to what the cap was at the time, it's not different at all. And it's not just the Eagles, by the way. The Dolphins are doing it as well. They've got 2 highly paid wide receivers and a highly paid quarterback. It is doable. The Bengals are just trying to cry poor and say it's mathematically impossible. It's not impossible. The issue is the Bengals owner doesn't have the cash on hand to pay out all the guarantees that these contracts require. When you give out a major contract with a lot of guaranteed money, even though these owners are not going to go bankrupt overnight, they do have to have that cash set aside in an escrow account in a certain amount of time so that if they were to go under, the guaranteed money is not lost. Why do you think Cincinnati is selling TVs from their stadium before the year starts? They need cash. Why do you think they put on a naming license for their stadium for the first time in ever? A long time? As long as I've been alive? Because they need cash for all these guaranteed contracts. So chances are we are seeing the last of Joe Burrow throwing to Tee Higgins and Jamar Chase because they're going to pretend to cry poor when it's possible Other teams are doing it. They just don't have the cash to do it. So like, love, or hate Jimmy Haslam, he might meddle too much. He might make poor decisions, but he is at least good for one thing, an incredible piggy bank, because he will pay whatever the Browns need to be successful. If you enjoyed today's episode, hit that subscribe button down below. It would go a long way to see the growth of this channel and get to 40,000 subscribers before Christmas. So if you like what we publish here, click that sub button. I also want to show some love to the Brown and Orange Club for always hanging out with us. It's been a tough year. I think we all know that. 3 wins, and we're going into Christmas soon. But hey, appreciate you guys for sticking with us every single Sunday, always watching. So thank you to everyone who hangs out with us during our watch parties. Come watch along this Sunday. We will be live for the Browns-Chiefs game. So if you want to take in the Browns game with a little bit more entertainment than the broadcast, join us for our watch party this Sunday.